Hey, I appreciate you coming. My name is Ed Bush. I'm the area sales manager for Security National Life. Maybe you've heard of the company, maybe you haven't. I know a couple of you guys have some relationship with the company already, and that's great. Some of you don't, that's okay too. But I wanted to tell you a little bit about what we're doing and what I'm trying to do in this market, specifically here in San Diego. Security National Life's been around 50 plus years, $750 million company, close to $1 billion. We'll knock on the door of $1 billion before too terribly long, I believe that, partly because of what we're going to do in Southern California. I believe that too. So I'm looking for really good things in this market area. I'll tell you straight up what we're looking for are sales individuals to represent our company with independent funeral homes and mortuaries in this market. We have a very unique position in what we offer the community and what we offer our sales reps. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about that as we go through this this afternoon. Before we get into a lot of those details, I want to take some time and tell you what we're doing. There's actually a PowerPoint right there on that screen. Usually it's behind me, but the way this room is set up, it wasn't conducive for me to stand at that end of the room. But nonetheless, I'm going to give you a chance to tell me a little bit about who you are. I'm going to tell you a little bit about who I am and who we are as a company. I want to then share some information specifically to the sales position that we're trying to fill in this market. And I know that there are 6 of you in this room. I'm going to see 3 or 4 again tomorrow in the same building, same location. But I want you to realize that you're not competing with one another for position, because I need like 25, 30 folks in this market. So don't worry about the fact that you are maybe in a group interview or briefing and you're competing with someone, because you're not. The only person with whom you're going to have to compete is yourself. That makes sense? Right, yeah. We'll do contests later if you decide to come work with us. But anyway, I'll tell you a little bit of our compensation plan, because at the end of the day, it's nice if you can earn a good living for yourself or for if you have a family. Fair enough? So that's what we're going to do, and then we'll talk about the next steps. So I want to give you just a minute. We're going to go around the room, and we're going to start with the last one in the room, the gentleman with the sunglasses on over there, because I had the opportunity to meet him a couple of days ago. So we're going to start with him. And if you would just tell us, share your name, a little about some of your work experiences, and I know that you're already writing for the Final Expense, but tell us about what interested you in coming to this presentation about Security National Life today. Would you share that with us, please?
Well, I've been in the business practice since 1983, got my license, so I don't have a letter on my number. I've been there for a while. Okay. But as I got older, I got specializing in the senior market, and I saw this as a developing need for the seniors, and it was so easy for me just to talk about this, and a lot of them don't have it.
Right. And
when I was at one of my former companies, they set me up to work in Crenshaw in LA. I've never been to LA, never been to Crenshaw.
It's quite a trip, eh?
Yeah, it's a gangster town. So they told me not to wear blue or red ties and stuff like that. But I ended up being the #2 sales guy in the nation. Only the first month I was there, I didn't know anybody. So I had to really drum up relationships, and said, man, this is pretty good. So, but the senior market is really good. As you know, 10,000 boomers are retiring, and they have no plan. They have no plan, and I mean, they have a lot of things that they need, but this is one of the priorities as well. So I found this as an easy one. And some of my friends from the former company I was with, they all left, and they got into this business. They were working at Forest Lawn. And I was telling him, what you got now? He goes, oh man, I'm selling these mortuary products. I'm making more money here than I am over there where I was at.
Okay, I'll give away all my secrets.
So anyway, I ended up coming down. So anyway, I came back to San Diego because my dad passed away. And so ever since then, they haven't found any replacement over there to work at that Crenshaw.
So thank you. And your name again?
Vance Everett.
Yeah. Thanks, Vance.
Hey, my name is Cal, and I'm with Vance. Just got my MBA recently, and hoping to get my CPA next. And Vance is trying to mentor me into the business. Okay. And pretty much I saw this as the 2 most predominant things we're going to have in our life is death and taxes. Right. So I'm going to do both.
All right.
I got both covered.
There's a lot of truth in that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks, Cal.
That was pretty good.
Thanks very much.
My name is Frank, and I got into the insurance industry about 6 years ago. Okay. And in all its different facets, including I came across Security National, about 2 years ago with the final expense market. I did see, as you're online and going through the portal, checking up on things, we have a pre-need division. Last year, I became more familiar with it, and I'm looking forward to having a good relationship here in the future.
Okay, thank you, Frank.
How are you? I'm Sergio.
Sergio.
Been in the industry about 14 years with a final expense. But, you know, talking with Frank, we work together, that I come across people that say, you know what, I don't want insurance, I want their pre-need.
Yeah.
And it's like, now I can cross-sell, so it opens up my horizons.
Okay,
And that's why I'm here today.
okay, perfect.
I'm Bruce. I'm relatively new to the insurance industry. I used to work for Farmer years ago before I got sick, and now I want to get back into it. I just signed up with FEX not too long ago. When I saw your information, I was interested in the pre-need aspect of the business,
Okay,
so that's why I'm here.
perfect. Thank you, Bruce.
And I'm also Frank, and I've come from basically I've been selling financial products and final expense, and then, like Sergio said, I saw the cross-selling ability there with pre-need, and I looked on the portal, like you guys mentioned, and there's a lot of opportunity as far as cross-selling and talking about it, because in my experience, speaking with people, it's the one thing they always say, you know, well, okay, now I got a policy, what happens at the end, or when I do need it, or my children need it, I need to have something, and so this is an opportunity, in my opinion, to try and marry them up and, you know, hit both sides of the fence there, so.
Perfect. Thanks very much. Let me tell you a little bit about my background. Again, my name is Ed. My last name is Bush. I'll let you decide if I need to be related to a president or to a talking dog that sells canned beans. You know, I'll let you figure that out. I do spell it the same way, but I'll let you figure out what side of the fence I need to straddle. Regardless, I was insurance licensed back in 1982. That's my first gig. I went to work with New York Life. Had a great run with them, except I didn't bleed blue enough to stay with them forever. So I became an independent agent and kind of have been an entrepreneurial in the world of insurance all of my life. Off and on, mostly with life insurance and sales like that. 2009, I went to work with this company kind of by accident. It's a very, very large company that does a lot of funeral sales, cemetery sales, things like that. Had a great run with them. Came to work with Security National just a few months ago. But I was introduced to the world of pre-need here in San Diego back in 2009 when I moved down here. My wife and I used to live on a boat over in J Street Marina, Marina. That's where we were. Was selling life insurance, kind of got bored working for myself, replied to an ad on Craigslist. Frank, I think you said you found me on Craigslist or found this opportunity to come and be introduced to this. And so what I started doing was literally just selling pre-need funerals. And I became very acclimated to talking with people who are in the market for that kind of a product. It was an easy conversation for me. Vance mentioned the fact that there's so many folks that don't have other things and they need this. And what I found in my experience was most people who will give us the opportunity to spend some time with them and talk about a pre-need funeral, they've had a loss in their life within the last couple of 3 years. Some of them very soon, very recently, some of them in the last couple of years, and it'll be someone that's very close to them, maybe a parent, maybe a sibling, or a neighbor. And what they've experienced in going through that whole process of the funeral and making the arrangements for the funeral, everything that goes into that, they've seen that either firsthand because they had to make those arrangements for a parent or a sibling, or because they've seen one of their neighbors, very close friends, someone they go to church with has gone through this, and they saw the ordeal that they were faced with and the challenges that went with that, and all of a sudden they realize, you know what, I don't have to wait until I pass away for someone in my family to do all of this for me. There's a way for me to get this done before I ever need it. One of the expressions that I learned to use a long time ago that's really an important expression, and if you come to work with us, I hope you learn how to use this yourself. Wouldn't it be nice to have the information and not need it, rather than need it and not have it? And that's a very powerful statement to share with folks when you're talking with them, especially initially about the importance of sitting down with you and eventually having a conversation about pre-need. Because I promise you, every single person you see today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, every single person that has a breath of life in them today will not have the breath of life in them someday. And there will come a day when someone will have to make a funeral arrangements for that individual. And that's what we are all about, is helping families and individuals within respective communities make those plans that are absolutely inevitable. there's a huge difference in what we provide in the world of pre-need funeral versus traditional life insurance, or even in final expense policies, because even with the final expense policies that is specifically purchased for the purpose of helping to pay for the cost of that funeral, the reality is when you purchase a final expense policy, more than likely you didn't select the casket. More than likely you didn't have much of a conversation about, do you really want to have a traditional casketed funeral, or would you prefer cremation? And if you want cremation, would you like to have the body present before the funeral? Or for the funeral before the cremation? All of those things are conversation points that we have in the world of pre-need, because very simply we market our goods and services literally through local funeral homes and mortuaries. And that's where the big difference comes in what we do in the world of pre-need versus other life insurance and even final expense policies. Because we work closely with local funeral homes and mortuaries, hand in hand with them, going into the community and representing them. As a Security National Life agent, you would represent a local funeral home in your community, and you could actually speak to those in the community and say, I work with East County Mortuary, I work with Community Mortuary, or I work with California Cremation and Burial, or whatever the local funeral home is that's close to you, or that you decide that you want to work with, that we have arrangements with. So my job is twofold with Security National. Number one, my job is to go through the community, through the market, and find funeral homes that will allow with us and partner with us to represent them in the community. And so I have this management hat, if you will, wherein I have to go and find funeral homes that actually will work with us as Security National to allow us to represent them in the community. And then secondly, and most importantly for the funeral home itself, is I have to find a sales team. Once I have contracted with them, I have to build a sales team to come in and actually support what we've just committed to with that funeral home. And so I wear two kinds of management hats. The guy representing Security National to the funeral home, the management hat, the sales manager hat, putting together a sales team, doing the coaching, training, mentoring, the things that are required to help those individuals who come onto that team to be successful. And I'll tell you straight up, my number one priority is to help those who come onto this team to be financially successful. If you don't want to make any money, I love you. I appreciate you coming out today. Enjoy the drive home this afternoon. But if you're not interested in earning a significant income, seriously, this isn't for you. This isn't for you, because I don't have time. I have a huge market. My market goes from Bakersfield to Chula Vista, and from the Arizona border to the water. So I have a little bit of a territory to cover, and so I don't have a lot of time to spend training someone who wants to make $800 a month. That's not in my repertoire of things that I want to do, okay? So I'm looking for people that are serious about earning a solid income, and we'll get into more of that in just a few minutes, but that's a little bit about who I am. Security National Life, as I mentioned, is a 50-plus-year-old company, $750 million in sales. We'll knock on that $1 billion mark here very, very soon. There are two things that we do specifically. There are a whole gamut of other things that we as Security National do, but the thing that I'm here to represent for you today specifically is the pre-need funeral world, because that's what I have been tasked to do with the company, is find folks who will work in the pre-need funeral world. And we work with independent funeral homes. And that, to me, is an amazing opportunity. I don't know if you realize this or not, but there's some big players in the pre-need funeral world. There's some companies out there that do really, really big things, okay? But I want to tell you a secret. They don't even have 10% of the market share nationwide. Wow. And you would think, wow, those big corporations, they've taken over. No, they haven't. And the reason they haven't is because there are so many independently owned funeral homes and mortuaries across North America. Even here in San Diego, you could name a few names if you wanted to. I'm not going to, but you could name some names of large companies that own significant properties here in San Diego, and you think, wow, they got the market cornered. Are you kidding me? There are 75 plus funeral homes in San Diego County. Wow. 75 plus, and no one has a corner on the market.
Not even SCI?
Not even them. No one has a corner on the market. And so the reality is, come in.
Sorry.
No worries. Thank you for coming.
Have a seat, Adele. That you can make it.
Thank you.
The reality is, there's so many independently owned funeral homes and mortuaries and we have relationships with many of them already. They're established relationships that we've established at Security National. And so I'm here to try to find folks that want to join and work with us to get the word out on behalf of these local funeral homes and mortuaries that we're here to represent you. We're here to represent you to families in your community and offer them a product that is affordable, that they can pay for over time, and will give them the peace of mind in knowing that whenever the day comes that someone in the family, maybe even themselves, doesn't wake up, all of the decisions have been made. In the morning that they need the services, it's already been planned ahead and they've already got them. And they don't have to worry about it anymore. That's what we do. I want to share a video with you that tells you a little bit about what pre-planning is. It's only a 2-minute, 2.5-minute video, but I want to share this with you because if you haven't sat with someone in their living room or at the kitchen table and talked with them about a pre-need funeral, this will give you just a little bit of an insight as to what some of our conversations may be like.
When my dad died, we were all in shock. It was very sudden, and there was no planning. And so we had to guess at what he wanted, and decisions were made based on emotion.
I think that sometimes it's just something that the average person doesn't think about.
My mother and I had never had the conversation as far as what her wishes were, as far as if she had made arrangements for payment in advance. The answer was no, she hadn't. And so on one of the worst days of my life, I was out getting a loan to pay for her funeral.
When you're under stress like that, there's almost no such thing as a small deal. And small things become big.
And it just was more practical and more loving to be able to let me know just exactly what she wanted done.
What made her happy was that she knew that we wouldn't have to worry about it. It was a burden that she took away from us.
Because one of the parts of this conversation that occurs over and over and over again is this concept and this idea of taking the burden away. I could tell you story after story after story of families that I've sat with, literally hundreds of them, that I've assisted over the last several years. When we get to that point where the conversation is concluded and we're kind of wrapping things up, and they know that regardless of what happens now, everything is planned, there is such a peace that they receive and that they have. And I don't know how you put a price tag on that. I don't know how you do that. It is a priceless thing for me to have those kinds of conversations and to share with families. And I can tell you, I've sat with a lot of couples, whatever kind of couple you want to name it, husband, wife, 2 gals, 2 guys, whatever kind of couple you want to put together. I've sat with a lot of couples, and I look at one of them and say, tell me a little about why we're talking, what you want to do, and what you're thinking about. And they'll say, well, I want a cremation, because there are really only 2 options in this world of pre-need. You realize that, right? There's a cremation option and there's a traditional casketed funeral option, and there's not anything else. So it's going to be one of those 2. And one of the couple will say, I want to be cremated. And the spouse will look at them like, no, you don't. And I'm talking to people who've been married 40, 50 plus years, and they'll say, no, you don't.
Wow.
Now, I want you to imagine, what if that conversation had never happened, and all of a sudden they show up at the funeral home the day after she's passed or he's passed, and the one who had the misunderstanding decided to go ahead and do what they didn't want. So there are 2 questions that a family will always carry with them when a pre-need's not in place. Number 1, did we do the right thing? And did we do what they wanted? And I could tell you again, story after story of families who have lost loved ones. And 15, 20, 25, 30 years after the death occurred, they're still going to the cemetery, and they're still walking away from the cemetery, and they're wondering, did we do the right thing by Grandpa? Did we do what he wanted? And those are the kinds of questions that we get to help people answer. And I'm just telling you, life insurance doesn't do that. Traditional life policy, traditional term policy, sell a whole life policy, that never comes up in that conversation. And so that's the value and the real beauty of what we get to do when we sit with families and individuals and have those kinds of conversations that I promise you, every single person or someone in their family will have to have on their behalf. And so then it really is truly just a matter of a decision. Do you want to take care of this yourself, for yourself, or do you want to kick the can down the road and let your kids or your spouse or whoever is a surviving family member take care of this for you? And that's the kinds of conversations that we get to have. So we're looking for sales representatives to do that in the community, to meet people and greet people and go to their homes and sit at the kitchen table with them and talk with them and have a conversation. I'll be honest with you, and I've written literally hundreds and hundreds of pre-need contracts in my career, and I've never sold anything. And I mean that as genuinely as I can say it. I've never sold anything. But what I do have are conversations. Because my conversation, my sales presentation, if you want to call it that, always begins with, well, why did you let me come see you today? And what are you thinking about? What's caused you to allow me to come see you? Because you do know I work for the funeral home, right?
Yes, sir.
You get what I'm saying? And when you present it that way, and then you learn how to just be quiet, all of a sudden they begin to open up. And they start talking about why you are allowed to come into their home and have this conversation. It's because mom or dad are passed away, or because their next door neighbor, who they've been next door neighbors to for 42 years, all of a sudden her husband died of a heart attack just like that one night, and she had no plans of nothing, and they had life insurance out their ears, but they had no idea what kind of funeral they wanted, and it was a nightmare. Or worse yet, you got mom or dad that passed away, and mom comes in and she doesn't know what to do, and you got 3 or 4 kids there, and all of them are fighting over what they want to do, and none of them want to spend any money because they want the money. Or they don't have the money. They don't have any money. And now they're doing yard sales and swap and tag sales, or whatever you call them, car washes, to raise money. Or they're standing on the street corner, please donate to the funeral. It happens. Drive around town, you'll see it. It happens all the time.
Yeah, that's a powerful approach you did, because you made them talk about and expose their problem, and then they want you to come back with the solution.
Exactly. And the solution is easy. And that, I mean, it truly is easy. So we're looking for people to have those kinds of conversations. That's it.
That's powerful.
That's what we're looking for. People have those kind of conversations in the homes with individuals, and just help them figure out what it is that they want. And it's a very simple, easy conversation. We can show you how to do it. So let me tell you a little bit about the income potential that's here. Because again, if you're not interested in earning money, I love you and everything, but it's really easy. So I'm going to tell you about Southern California, not specifically to San Diego, but I pulled these numbers directly from last year's production in the Southern California market. Okay, our average funeral sale was $4,050. Now you got to realize that that includes cremation, maybe even direct cremation. It includes cremation services with body present for the mass, or the rosary service, or the funeral, and it also includes traditional casketed funerals, okay? But when you take it all together, average it out, divide by the number of sales made, the average funeral in California is $4,050. So if you were, as an individual, to write 6 contracts a month, or you help 3 families a month, your pre-need funeral production is going to be $24,300 a month. And that's an important number, and we're going to talk about these numbers for a minute, because this is how you earn money. In a traditional life insurance sale, your income is earned, and you earn a commission based on the fact of whatever the monthly premium is annualized. And then you get a percentage of whatever the annualized premium is. Maybe it's 50%, maybe it's 100%, maybe it's 120%, depends on how good of a salesperson you are in the contract you can negotiate with the company, okay? But in our world, it's not based on the monthly premium. The commissions are paid based on what the actual funeral costs, okay? There's some more specifics to that I'll get into later if you decide to come to work with us, but for the sake of this illustration, we're going to just say it's a $24,300 funeral, and I'm going to show you a commission of 14%. Now you may be thinking, holy cow, 14%? That's not a very high commission. Well, just realize this is not traditional life sales, it's not final expense sales, this is a pre-need funeral sale, and the commission is based on the full face value. How would you like to earn 14% of $1 million policy you wrote? That'd be nice, huh? But they're not going to pay that, because it's not, they just calculate differently. So this is what we do. So bear with me here. So you serve 3 families a month, and you write 6 contracts, $24,300 in volume. Again, a 14% commission, which is just an average commission for us. That's $3,402 in monthly earnings, or $40,824 a year.
Nice.
Now, that might be a good income for you. I want to know what bridge you're living under in Southern California, because you can't live on that in Southern California, okay? I'm just saying, you just can't. Now, if you live in an RV, or I live on a boat, I could live on that on my boat, because I really do, you know, so my slip fee is very, very low compared to what a house payment would be, or what renting an apartment would be. So, but that's a nice number if you were an extremely part-time person, because look, guys, I've asked you to help 3 families a month. That's not even 1 couple a week that you're actually working with. And I love it, everything. If that's all you want to do, that's great. But I think there's an opportunity here. So let me just show you what happens if you only have 1 more family, or you only write 2 contracts a week, just 8 contracts a month. Okay, 8 contracts a month, again, using that $4,050 price tag on the average funeral in the state, in Southern California. So now you've written $32,400 in volume. That's equivalent at 14%, that's $4,536 a month, or $54,000 a year. We're getting close to a reasonable wage. Okay, we're getting close. I don't think we're there yet. I just don't, with all due respect. Now, if you have husband and wife both working in the home and you have teenage children who are contributing to the household income, you can probably live safely and easily in Southern California. But I want to share one more thing with you, because I want to show you what happens if you write 8 families of 4 contracts, or 16 contracts, 4 contracts a week. That's not even a sale a day. Okay? I'm not even talking 1 sale a day. That's $64,000 in volume, that's $9,000 a month, that's $108,000, almost $109,000 a year.
Now you're talking.
Now we're on the verge of being in business, okay?
Now you're talking.
Now, think about this, that's 16 contracts per month. 16 times 12 is how much? Somebody do the math for me. Let's see what kind of math students we have in the room. What's 16 times 12?
There's a tax cut right there, right?
That's 160,000.
Yeah.
No. What's 16 times 12? I just want to tell you how many contracts a year you write. Who's my math student in here?
192.
So I was gonna say about 180, but you get it.
216, 232.
200, 232? What's 12 times 12?
144.
144. What's 4 times 12?
148.
So 144 and 48 is how much?
Usually 192.
192 is usually what I come up with. So I wrote over 225 contracts in my first year with the company that I used to work for. Now I gotta be honest with you. I didn't work 5 days a week. Now the first couple of months I was in the business, first 3 months I was in the business, I worked 5 days a week, sometimes on Saturday if I didn't get what I needed to get on Monday through Friday. But I ended up working this thing about 3.5 days a week because I knew how to work. I can teach you how to work if you're coachable and trainable. If you're not coachable and trainable, it doesn't matter what I share with you. It's not going to work for you. Now, I accomplished that by doing a couple of things. Number one, my very first day on the job, I had a sales manager. His name was Seth. This is what we did. My name is Ed. I work with mortuary, and I'm just in the neighborhood. Just want to introduce myself. I've come totally unannounced. I don't want to take any of your time today, but I'll be back here on Tuesday or Wednesday. I'd like to stop by and share some information with you, because you know as well as I do that one of these days, you or someone in your family are probably going to need the services of a funeral home. And wouldn't it be nice to have the information when you didn't need it rather than not have it when you did? Well, are they going to say that? Well, some of them did say anything. They slammed the door in my face. Because that's the reality of sales, is it not?
Yeah.
But believe it or not, there were a number of people who said, you know what, you're right, I do need to talk to you. And we would set up appointments. We go back and have a conversation with folks. And then I did some other things. I did seminars. Love seminars. Veterans groups, church groups, you name it. If there's a group of people that meet together on a regular basis, we need to be standing in front of them, sharing information with them, generic information. We're not going to sell anything in a seminar. We're just going to share with them the importance of, you know what, every single person. What's the mortality of the folks in this room? What's the mortality rate of the people in this room? It's 100%, isn't it? And do you realize that every group that we go to, the mortality rate of that group is going to be 100%? Every single time. And when you share that with them, we kind of begin to talk about things that are the reality of what life is all about, because, Cal, you made the statement earlier, there are 2 things in life guaranteed: taxes and death. Yes, ma'am.
When you sell this, you have to have a license, right?
You do. Yep. And if you don't have a license today, that's okay. It's not that tough. We can help you figure out how to do that, okay? I can go into a lot of detail with that. But
No, I have a license. I have
Okay.
3 people in my car now, so but you know, I mean,
Okay.
like,
Okay. So 108,000 if you write, help
8 families.
8 families a month, 2 families, that's 2 couples a week. Now, you know, sales is a numbers game, right? It's a numbers game. So how many appointments do you have to set to actually get to close 2 sales a week? Well, if your closing ratio is 50%, then you need 4. Okay. If your closing ratio is 70%, you only need 3.5. If your closing ratio is 30%, you might need 5 or 6 to close it. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
So all I want you to think about is the fact that those are real numbers. Those are not extravagant numbers. They are very, very realistic numbers, and the income is very, very real, okay? So that's the potential. So let me tell you a little bit more about our company, Security National Life. We are a commissions company. That's what we do. We pay you based on your energy and what you put into this thing. But I want you to know this as well. We pay daily. But we only pay commissions daily if you sell daily. Okay? You understand what I'm saying? You get it? Okay? You get it?
So when you submit a contract in, you get paid the following day, you wait a couple of days, 48 hours to settle?
It depends on if the contract is clean, and by clean I mean if you dotted all the i's across the t's and everything is correct. If the contract is submitted right, it'll go to underwriting, it'll approve within 2 to 3 days. You'll have a check automatically deposited into your bank account. Okay, so once you get the ball rolling and you submit a contract every day, guess what? You're going to start getting paid every day, which is way better than once a month or twice a month or every 2 weeks. It's just way better.
Yeah.
It's just way more fun. Yeah. All right, we do have sales incentive and contests in the market. There'll be some local stuff, there'll be some national stuff, which is kind of cool. So the 108 is just the base to looking at. And then we do have some lead generations. There are 9 specific lead generation programs that we can work with in a local funeral home and community. I'm not going to go into the details of all that right now. If you decide you want to go to the next step and talk with me further one-on-one, then I'll explain some of those things to you. But we do have very powerful lead generation programs that are in place that we can connect you with. Our business is growing, and I invite you to grow with us. So I've just given you a little nuts and bolts overview of who we are and what we do. But let me share this with you. This is important. In order to be successful in this business, you have to realize that it's going to take probably 40, 50 hours a week in the initial stages, if you're not already in the business, to get this thing up and running. You got to be willing to work. And I want you to realize that half of your life is literally going to be spent in prospecting. Half of your life in this business is going to be spent prospecting. Then there's going to be 40% of your time is going to be building relationships. And let me explain what I mean when I say building relationships. It involves a couple of things. Number one, let's say that you meet someone at an event, whether it's a senior event, it's a health fair, or you meet them at a grocery store, wherever you meet someone, you get their name. You meet Fred and Sarah. And Fred and Sarah they say, yeah, come see us, we want to talk to you. Well, Fred and Sarah may say, yeah, come talk to us, but they didn't give you a specific date or time. And so now it's up to you as a salesperson to contact Fred and Sarah and say, hey Fred, this is Ed. Just wanted to touch base with you. Met you the other day at the health fair and wanted to set up a time when I can come by and visit with you and Sarah. Ed, you know what, we're going to be on vacation for the next 3 weeks. We're going over to Arizona to visit our grandkids, blah, 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 they're out of town. Great, I'll call you in 3 weeks, Fred. You call Fred. Back in 3 weeks, say, Fred, this is Ed. Security National, or the local funeral home. Just wanted to touch base with you. Promised I'd call you back in 3 weeks. 3 weeks has passed. How was that trip? How was the vacation? How are the grandkids in Phoenix? And you have a little conversation. You build a relationship. By the way, Fred, when we met a couple of months ago, you mentioned that you were interested in talking with me about the fact that you and Sarah don't have a pre-need funeral place and wanted to stop by. I'll be in your neighborhood on Wednesday afternoon around 3 o'clock. That'd be okay to stop by. Yeah, that'll work, Ed. And you get there. Knock, knock. Hey, Fred, this is Ed. I forgot you were coming, man. Didn't even tell Sarah she's not even home. Great, no worries. I'll be back here on Friday or next Monday. Which would be better for you? Now, are you going to tell Sarah this time? Do you hear what I'm doing? All I'm doing is building relationship. I'm building relationships constantly. Now, when I get into the home, finally, and I'm sitting at the kitchen table with Fred and Sarah, I've already talked to Fred or Sarah enough times that they know me and they know my voice before I go walk in the door. And I'm virtually a friend by the time I get to the front door. You understand what I'm saying? And if you get that concept of what this is all about, then when you get into the home and you are really having the conversation with them about the importance of the pre-need and what they need to put in place, your closing ratio goes through the roof. It goes through the roof because you have a relationship with that person before you ever walk in their front door. More than a few occasions. I would drive by somebody's house or drive through a neighborhood because basically you're going to be working in just a 5 to 7 mile radius of a funeral home. I don't need you driving all over San Diego County or going up to LA or going over to Riverside County to sell anything. I need you to work close to home. And I need you to work close to home like you are the person that anyone and everyone would want to talk to close to your funeral home. Does that make sense? And so I'm driving through neighborhoods and I'm like, hey, I remember stopping at that house. I remember that person and I knew their name and I'd stop knocking on the door. Hey man, just driving by, I thought I'd say hello. I don't want to go in their house right. I just want to say hello. Because when I do call back or do stop back by to set the appointment, me stopping to say hello carried more weight than me trying to set an appointment. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So building that relationship is important. And when you build that relationship properly, when you get into the home to have the conversation, your closing ratio will be 65, 70, 75%. Because you positioned yourself to serve the family, not just to make a sale. You've positioned yourself to truly care for them, and you've expressed that and shown that by the fact that you have contacted and had some connection with them repeatedly. So that's 40% of your time. And then 10% is teamwork. We're going to do some training, we'll do some team activities, we'll do some stuff like that, because that's just what sales teams do. Make sense? So we're looking for people that have some of these qualities and qualifications and responsibilities. Now we need you to desire to help others. I need you to have a desire to earn a competitive income. Again, if you don't want to earn any money, I appreciate you coming, but this isn't going to be for you. You need to be able to work independently. I'm not going to micromanage you. I can tell you that straight up. I am not going to micromanage you. If you can't get out of bed and get yourself to work every day, then you have a problem. But it isn't my problem. Okay? It isn't my problem. You need to have a willingness to occasionally work with a team. We will do some team activities. We will have opportunities to work, health fairs or other kinds of events where we would have a tabletop and to have information on a local funeral home and stuff so folks would come by and pick up stuff. And there'll be opportunities to do things like that. You need to have a very high level of integrity and dependability. Timeliness is important, being on time, be able to pass a pre-employment background check. It's nice to have had some outside or in-home sales as a plus, but it's not mandatory. It's also nice to have an insurance license. You will have to have a license to work with us, but if you don't have that today, don't worry about it. I can show you how to take care of that. You do need a valid driver's license, and you need reliable transportation. And I don't really care what your transportation is. I could care less, but you just need to have reliable transportation. I had a gentleman one time who rode a bicycle. And another guy one time took the bus. Everyone took the bus. I could care less. Just have reliable transportation. And your feet sometimes are often reliable transportation. And it's nice if you're bilingual. If you're not, no big deal. If you are, though, that's a huge benefit to you because guess where we live? California. And if you don't speak a couple of languages, you might miss opportunities here. That's all I'm saying. So bilingual is always an opportunity. And especially interested in veterans. Love veterans, done a lot of work with vets over the years, so if you know any veterans that aren't here today, but this may be a good, suitable opportunity for them, I'd appreciate you passing their name along to me. So, next step. The next thing very simply is, if this looks like something that you're interested in doing, then we need to spend some time together one-on-one. I'm going to be back here tomorrow. I'm going to be right in this building tomorrow, right in the same very place. I have a meeting at 9 o'clock, 10:30 already set, but I'll be happy to schedule a time one-on-one with each of you or any of you that want to come back, and we'll talk specifically, answer some more specific questions for you and for your needs, talk about the process of appointment. Now, I've said a lot to you. I know you may have some questions, and that's great, and I'll take questions in a moment, but I want to share something with you that's important to me. If you're going to come to work with me at Security National Life, I need you to be dedicated to me at Security National Life, which means simply this: I need you to be captive to Security National Life. Does that make sense? Now, that doesn't mean you can't sell final expense, because Security National Life has a final expense side. We can connect you so that you can do both of those if you need to, because there are going to be times occasionally when you're sitting with someone and the reality of the finances in their life just will not allow them to take the opportunity to purchase a pre-need plan because it's just too much of an expense for them to pay on a monthly basis. So you need an option occasionally for final expense policy to at least get them started on the right path. But I need you to commit to being a captive agent with Security National. And if you can't do that or you don't want to be, then this opportunity may not be for you. And I'm saying that, and I'm saying that because I need a dedicated sales team that are committed to what we're doing. I already have 8 funeral homes in this market that are ready for us to rock and roll, and they're chomping at the bits for us to put sales team in place. And so I'm looking for people to work. And now let me explain captive. What I mean by captive is I'm not going to allow you to write for Security National and be appointed with other companies that write pre-need funerals. You mentioned Transamerica earlier, Frank. I think you have an appointment with them. I care less if you write for Transamerica. But I don't want you being appointed with Security National, with Homesteaders, and with Forethought, and with every other pre-need company that's out there. Not interested. And if that's what you're trying to do, and that's how you want to run your business, I'm not going to let you run it like that with me on my sales team. Just not going to do it.
I am with SNL.
Good for you. Perfect. That's fantastic. So that's the one caveat that I will share with you. I need a dedicated Security National Life team, and we can talk more about that, like I said. So that's what I have to say. If you got any questions, I'll be glad to take those. I finished about 10 minutes early, which is great.